And over the last 4 decades, I have realized, which has been obvious to great sages throughout the centuries, that there's no system of thought that can access truth or reality, whether it's a scientific system of thought or a mathematical system of thought, or these days we talk about quantum physics. None of these systems of thought can give us the experience of reality, because reality is beyond thought. Reality is inconceivable to the mind.
I mean, I cannot say much about thought because I don't have much thought. This may sound a little like an oxymoron for people, but the fact of the matter is, most of the time I don't have any thought in me. For me, the phenomena of life that's happening within me always overwhelms everything else. Thought occurs to me only when I want to physically do something, arrange something around me. Otherwise, days on end will pass for me without a single thought. So, maybe I never grew up. In a way, yes, because when it comes to… people ask me, what has been your sadhana? My only sadhana has been that right from my childhood, I never got identified with anything. Either the family, or the culture, or the religion, or the society, or various other things happening around you, including your parentage, your siblings. I was involved with them, but never identified with anything. If human intelligence does not tie itself down with identity, every human being will realize the nature of life. Human intelligence is capable of figuring this. When I say intelligence, as Deepak pointed out, it's beyond the thought process. Unfortunately, because of the type of education systems we have today, we are completely committed to one dimension of our intelligence, which we call as the intellect, which is just the thought process. Thought can only happen with the data that you have gathered through 5 senses, which is very limited, one thing. Another thing is, the nature of data that the senses gather are only useful for survival process. The very nature of how you see things, how you hear, smell and taste and touch life is only relevant for survival process. If you wanting to know the life itself, then these instruments of perception are no good. Because the moment you identify yourself with something, your intellect's work is just to protect that identity. If you… whatever the identities of nation or family or gender or race, religion, whatever, the moment you identify yourself with something, your intellect will only function around that to protect that. So, it is a certain type of prejudice the moment you're identified. So, the only thing I did with my life is, I never identified myself with anything, and life just exploded within me in ways that thought seems so puny that I do not indulge in thought most of the time.
This is a tough pill to swallow.
Thinking is just recycling of the data that you already gathered.
Thought is what creates the subject-object split. Being is all there is, and being is not a thought. So, as even now, if I asked you, are you aware? That's being. Now, everything else is just a modulation of that. It's a feeling or a thought or a sensation or a perception. We call that the mind, we call that the body, we call that the universe. But all there is being and its modulations. Because what you experience is sensations, images, feelings and thoughts, and then you say, oh, that's a tree, that's a body, that's a universe, that's a rock. There are just different combinations of being and its modulations, or all of that. It's very difficult to intellectually get to being because we identify, as he said, with our perceptual experience, with our intellect, with our mind, with our ego identity. So it always seems a struggle till one day you stop struggling and you're there. And as he said, he never identified with anything. Once you identify with a thought or with a perception or with what you think is a knowing or a sensation or an emotion, then you're in time. Thought is in time, but being is not in time.